Okay. All right. Okay. Ooh. How y'all doing today, man? Hope y'all doing good, staying well, staying healthy, all that great stuff, man. Another vid, another day, man. Listen, today we got Making the Case, 1971 Bucks, made by Clayton Corrali, man. Original link will be in the description. Shout out to Clayton for making this vid. We already reacted to the 1986 Celtics, 2001 Lakers. Now we got the 1971 Bucks, Oscar Robertson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Shout out those two greats. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, not really much to say. Like the video, mess with it. If you're new, hit that subscribe button, man. Join the fam. And without further ado, let's get straight into the video, man. 3, 2, 1. Let's go, man.
What's the goal of basketball? To win, right?
Hey.
But not just to win individual games. The ultimate goal is to win a championship. Of course, basketball is a team sport. Championships are won by the most complete,
Especially supposed to skip the intro.
Every champion deserves credit, but the question on my mind is, who's the greatest team of all time? With apologies to Bill,
I'm gonna let right.
I have a list of
I'm gonna let right.
teams since 1970 that I want to look at as having a claim to that distinction. It is a loaded
Give me
question,
those.
and one that I ultimately can't answer.
Hey.
Is it the teams that were front runners from beginning to end? The ones who were unbeatable as a team?
Hold on.
Maybe the ones who tapped into something special and overcame countless obstacles. There is no right answer. It's your job to make your own call. And it's my job to make the case.
To make the case.
So today, I'll be making the case for the
Yes,
1971 Milwaukee Bucks as the greatest basketball team of all time.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's get crack-a-lacking, man. Let's get it rolling. 1971 Milwaukee Bucks. The Milwaukee Bucks.
Why don't we talk about the 71 Bucks? We talk about so many teams when the idea of best team ever comes up. And sure, it depends on your age. Most people would be a lot more excited to talk about the 04 Pistons than the 65 Celtics. But there's a handful of usual suspects that get thrown around in the conversation. Bird's Celtics, Magic's Lakers, Jordan's Bulls, and so on. Not the Bucks. But why not? They had a regular season record of 66-16, a 12-2 playoff record, and remain one of the most statistically impressive teams of all time. They were one of the most efficient teams ever, with a then record 51% field goal percentage.
Wow.
Every starter averaged double-digit points, and all shot at or over 50% from the field. Their roster was composed of Hall of Famers Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Oscar Robertson, should-be Hall of Famer Bob Dandridge, sharpshooter John McLaughlin, and productive essential role players like Greg Smith, Bob Boozer, and Lucius Allen.
I don't know any other dudes other than Oscar Robertson and Kareem. No disrespect. No disrespect.
The fastest an expansion team has ever won an NBA title. They checked all the boxes, won a ton of games, took home the chip, and
I'm not gonna learn about every single player in the league. You know what I'm saying?
So why don't we talk about the 71 Bucks? Well, for starters, because they played in the 70s. It is said that Larry Bird and Magic Johnson saved basketball in the 1980s, ushering in a golden age for the sport.
Yeah.
But you can't save a game unless it's in need of saving. The 70s as a whole are remembered as the dark ages of basketball, a forgotten era marked by a nationwide loss of interest in the sport. For one, money had an adverse effect on the product. Contracts were finally becoming lucrative enough that some around the league were enjoying living lavish lifestyles first and playing basketball second.
Hey!
In addition, the ABA, founded in 1967, split the talent pool between the two leagues for nearly a decade. Spectacular players like Rick Barry, Artis Gilmore, Spencer Haywood, George McGinnis, and of course, Dr. J, all spent considerable time playing.
I know all of them now. I know all of them.
And as if the 70s already have enough going against it, expansion diluted the existing talent pool in the NBA even further. From 1967 to 1974, the league introduced 8 new teams. These new teams assembled rosters through expansion drafts, pilfering the rosters of existing teams and making meaningful roster depth nearly impossible. A number of things also happened to the Bucks, which, though totally outside of their control, contribute to the glossing over of their achievements. In their second-round matchup against the Lakers, both Elgin Baylor and Jerry West missed the entire series. The Bucks lucked out with their finals matchup because the second-best team in the league, the New York Knicks, were upset by the 42-40 Baltimore Bullets. And that same Baltimore Bullets team was already suffering from a plague of injuries, especially to all-star forward Gus Johnson. And the number one reason that nobody talks about the 1971 Milwaukee Bucks as the greatest team of all time is because they were boring. And I mean boring.
Word.
As I researched this team and scoured the archives, I was waiting to find that one story, that one anecdote that would breathe life into this team and reveal some forgotten ideal that they represented. I didn't find it. The most revelatory quote I found about the team, the one that really summed them up, was from a Sports Illustrated article published a few days after the team won the championship. Kareem said of the team and of head coach Larry Costello, "Larry, Oscar, and I have the same ways about us. We agree that being as efficient as possible cuts down our chances for errors. Larry has a very professional attitude. There's no nonsense, because he's a man dedicated wholly to basketball. Efficient, dedicated, no nonsense, professional. That's the Bucks to a T. To them, it was a job. It was what they were good at and what they were relentlessly passionate about. But it was a job. Take Kareem, for instance. After cementing himself as college basketball's greatest player ever, Lou Alcindor was the prospect of all prospects. In 3 years as a varsity player at UCLA, he had won National Player of the Year awards each season, won 3 championships, and finished his Bruin career with an 88-2 record. Listed at 7'2", but widely acknowledged to be closer to 7'3" or even 7'4", his size alone made him a mismatch for all but the stoutest of centers, like Nate Thurmond and Willis Reed. The young center moved atypically, marked by a veteran sense of where to go and what to do, combined with a level of athleticism that often gets overlooked. Quick, strong, graceful, powerful, exuding pure command of the court through subtleties, without a drop of flair if he could help it. He owned the 70s, racking up 6 most valuable player awards in his first 10 seasons, more than any player has ever won before or since. He ranks alongside the greatest rim protectors of all time, with other players remarking at the time that he was the best defender since a prime Bill Russell. Offensively, he could face up, turn over either shoulder, or gain position against nearly all challengers. Oh, and he also had the greatest shot in the history of basketball in his arsenal. The skyhook. An uncontestable, unblockable, unstoppable shot. With a simple flick of the wrist, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar had access to the surest 2 points in basketball history. It was a weapon that, combined with the unprecedented length of his career, saw Kareem retire as the all-time leading scorer in NBA history. In just his second season as a professional, the young center submitted averages of almost 32 points a game, 16 rebounds a game, 3.3 assists, and shot an unfathomable 57.7% from the field. Cincinnati Royals head coach Bob Cousy said that when trying to stop Kareem, quote, "I guess you could say we alternate strategy and getting down on our knees and praying. There's just not a lot you can do." Those prayers went unanswered. He won the MVP by the largest margin it had ever been won by. It was one of, if not the, greatest seasons in the career of one of, if not the, greatest players of all time. But that level of domination of the sport took its toll. I talked about it when I made the case for Kareem as the GOAT, but it seems like there was a legitimate effect that he had on the game's popularity by being simultaneously its best player while also being one of its least fun to watch. The skyhook was efficient, effective, and irreparable, but it was also repetitive, mechanical, and dull. It wasn't thrilling in the slightest to see the best player in the league operate at his highest level. And while Kareem was certainly a cerebral and thoughtful intellectual, few ever got to see it, and even fewer appreciated it. As a player, he was transcendent. As a person, he was endlessly fascinating. But as a celebrity, as an entertainer, he was about as interesting as a Snapple fact. His partner in crime was slightly different. At 6'6", Oscar Robertson was a prototypical big guard. He spent the first 10 years of his career as a member of the Cincinnati Royals, where he proved to be the league's best all-around player. Incomparably well-rounded and versatile, Robertson had the size to rebound and punish defenders in the high post, the physicality to bounce off opponents on drives to the basket, the speed to maneuver around other players, the court awareness of one of the league's premier passers, and is said to have practically invented the fadeaway jump shot.
That's tough. That's a tough.
He
That's a tough
excelled
move.
at every facet of the game and famously averaged a triple-double in the 1961-62 season, a feat that wouldn't be matched for over 50 years. Despite his tremendous individual accolades, though, his teams struggled to find success in the playoffs, battling to no avail against the teams of Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell. A famously competitive individual, Robertson sought to change his fortunes by demanding nothing less than perfection from his teammates. Possessed by the same fire that would fuel Michael Jordan to 6 championships decades later, Robertson was relentless in his criticism of his teams and of his franchise. Eventually, conflict with the front office reached a tipping point, and Oscar was traded to the Milwaukee Bucks in the summer of 1970. In Milwaukee, Robertson was freed from the burden of being the team's primary scoring option, which allowed him to focus solely on his role as floor general. Though he averaged under 20 points a game for the first time in his career, he finished the season 3rd in assists per game, 11th in the league in field goal percentage, and 2nd in free throw percentage. He thrived by providing veteran leadership to the youthful Bucks, while still stepping up and delivering whatever it was you needed delivered. If you needed a shot, Oscar could make it. If you needed a rebound, Oscar could get it. And if you needed the ball, Oscar could feed you. But his unrelenting nature was not limited to the basketball court. A first-hand witness to the cruelty of racism in the 50s and 60s, Robertson never forgot the injustices done to him. He spoke his mind and never allowed an external force to undermine his pride and confidence. As a result, Oscar's reputation became one of a bitter star, supposedly clinging to grudges that in reality were tragic wrongs that had never truly ended or been repaired. He was venerated for his talent, revered by his peers, but he never found himself in the spotlight.
Wow.
Neither did Bobby Dandridge, the team's 3rd best player and one who should absolutely be in the Hall of Fame.
Bobby Dandridge.
He was a 4-time All-Star, a 2-time champion, scored more finals points in the 1970s than anyone else, and was arguably the best player on the champion 1978 Baltimore Bullets. For the 71 Bucks, the second-year forward was a certifiable badass, the scrappy two-way demon who did all of the little things. He could score from mid-range with his silky jump shot, get to the cup with his athleticism and quickness, could defend any forward in the league, ended up being the team's 2nd leading rebounder, and regularly came up big in crunch time throughout his career. Teamed up with Oscar and Kareem, the team never wanted for any quality from its guard, forward, or center position. Nevertheless, his quality and talent never seemed to get its just due. Understandably overshadowed by his superstar teammates, Dandridge's contributions often went unsung in an era that merits few songs. And as if this wasn't enough, John McLaughlin was the team's resident sharpshooter, sinking shots routinely from distances that would have counted as three-pointers had the line existed. His reliable jumper made him a trusted outlet when Kareem would get doubled, providing McLaughlin with a steady diet of clean, open looks that he knocked down with ease. Head coach Larry Costello was exactly as Kareem described: efficient, professional, and extremely dedicated. His exploits, though, were often explained away because, as many thought, you don't have to be a great coach to get the most out of this much talent. Never mind the fact that by most accounts, he helped revolutionize film study and game preparation. So it went for the Bucks. Peerless talent, an immaculate record, no holes to speak of, and an inability to enthrall its viewers. Monotonous dominance. But isn't that what dominance is? Isn't true dominance boring? Dominance plays no 7th game. Dominance beats every opponent by 30. Dominance is UConn women's basketball and Alabama football and Murderers Row. It is neither compelling nor interesting. It's not fun. It prompts conversations about being unfair, about hurting the sport. Sometimes it is unfair, and it does hurt the sport. That was the Bucks. They were dominant in a way that transcends aesthetic intrigue. They lost just 2 home games all season. They had 3 different double-digit winning streaks of 10, 16, and a then record 20 consecutive wins. They finished with a 66-16 record, but they lost 5 of their last 6 games because the second best team in the league, the Knicks, finished 52-30. The Bucks clinched the top spot, took their foot off the gas, and still ended up over a dozen games better than the next best team in the league.
Wow.
Every starter ranked in the top
That's
11
tough.
players in the league in field goal percentage. In their first round matchup with the Warriors, San Francisco eked out a 2-point victory in Game 4, staving off a 4-game sweep. Accordingly, in Game 5, the Bucks massacred the Warriors in a 50-point victory, the 5th largest blowout in playoff basketball history.
Wow.
Their sweep over the Bullets in the finals was the first championship series sweep in 12 years. If you are judged by the strength of your opponent, the Bucks lose because they faced no opponent. Nobody could contend with them.
That's a
The
tough
ultimate
shot.
testament to their
All the
superiority
way back here?
and an absurd record that still stands, their average margin of victory in the playoffs was 14.5 points.
Tough shot.
Doesn't all of that start sounding more and more like the greatest team of all time?
They do.
Yeah, they got breaks, but who doesn't? I'll say it until I'm blue in the face. You win because you take advantage of your advantages. What were they supposed to do?
Yeah.
For 8 months, nobody challenged
That's
them.
facts.
Their job was to show up to work and beat the brains out of the team in front of them,
That's
which
it.
they did. How can you hold what goes on around them against them? How about this? If you want to say that they were lucky and that they got breaks, great. Even better.
Oh snap.
Now, not only are they loaded and talented, but they're lucky too. Take arguably the greatest player ever, pair him up with the second best point guard in history, add in one of the
first king of
greatest
triple
forwards
doubles.
of his era,
The first
then
triple double
toss
king.
in complementary and effective role players and an exemplary head coach,
Had him on
and what you
knees.
get is a team that is so remarkable
Pause.
that it ceases to be memorable. Why don't we talk about the 71 Bucks? Because from start to finish, by nearly every metric, they were the most dominant basketball team ever. Because all they did was beat everyone in front of them, so thoroughly and convincingly that they weren't worth talking about.
Wow.
And that is why the 1971 Milwaukee Bucks are the greatest basketball team of all time.
That's a good case. That's a good case. Not much to say about that, man. It's like the numbers are there, man. You know? Yeah, they probably had one of the most boring teams to watch. But hey man, they got the job done though. If I'm trying to win, bro, all the like oohs and ahs, unless I'm naturally a showcase player, ball handling, like they showcase the best of that. So that's Kyrie Irving, you know what I'm saying? Kobe, MJ, Tracy McGrady, Vince Carter, like they show, like they, you know what I'm saying? That's their game. But people like Tim Duncan, Bill Russell, maybe Kareem, Oscar Robertson, like people in that category. They get the job done, man. You know, and that's what they do, and I respect that of them. Real talk. Yeah, it's a passion, but it's also a job. And they try to get that. They try to get that dub, man. They try to get that dub now. You know, so that's respect. Good case again. You know, hope y'all enjoyed. Make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe if you're new to the Mr. Beat. And yeah, man. Hope y'all stay well. Stay blessed. Love you very much, man. And peace. I'm out. Woo!